And we have an intro.
Yes, we actually have an intro now. Greetings, friends. Welcome to Free Range Thinking. We're here again in our cozy recording caves, ready to dive into some interesting topics and rabbit holes. I'm Sharon Lee.
And I'm Alex Carl. Every week we serve a delicious buffet of neurodivergent topics, discussions, questions, and explorations around the subject of living as a neurodivergent human. We enjoy talking about and celebrating how people like us can not only thrive in today's world but prosper because the world desperately needs neurodivergent humans to bring real transformation and evolution to mankind. We are the keys through the shitstorm. We are the keys through the shitstorm of a one-size-fits-all world. No joke.
And with that, open the gates.
Yay!
I know I'm going to want to change that every week. It's like, oh, I got something better.
Oh, we can. I'm a big fan
Of course.
Recording it again and again every week, so that it's like evolving or changing every time.
Right. It's like window dressing. It's like window dressing in a store.
Yeah.
You know, don't leave it the same. And so what you have to remind me, what did we do the downhill parking on from last week?
Yeah, we did the downhill parking, a good fit partnership for neurodiverse entrepreneurs. That's I think.
Well, I could speak about you and I.
Absolutely.
And then this other person that I've been collaborating with recently, and that's when I really notice it. It's when it fits, when something fits right. That's when it jumps out. For example, with you and I'm always giggling about it because if I was working with somebody else, they would. It's like, oh, do you have this thing yet? Are you ready yet? Or are you? We're going to do this, and this, and have a very, very particular itinerary, and we do, but it's very loose. And I like that you and I are building something with the comfort zone of a loose structure. Because I work very well in that type of atmosphere. But for people, and if you're talking about the Myers-Briggs types, it's the J's, the S, SJs in particular. And they tend to see me as being flighty or wishy-washy and I'm not, but I just have a real, radically different way of working, and you and I fit really well together. Because I see something on there that needs to be corrected, and I'm like, hey, oh, I noticed this, could you take a look at it? And so I know how I like to be dealt with, and so I'm guessing, from your reaction that you're like, oh yeah, I'll correct that. Oh yeah. Didn't notice that. And for me, it's no big deal. Now, we're not on a tight deadline or anything. And I know from our discussions that if we were on something like that, we would be tighter and we have the capacity to do that. But because we don't, we could totally stay in our style of doing it. It's like, for example, this is number 6 that we're recording, and just now we have an intro on it, but neither one of us are really bothered by it. And what are you doing? The hand signals? What does that mean?
We had number 7.
Oh, it's number 7. Okay. I didn't know. So I didn't know. It's like, is that a gang sign you're doing? Is that a broadcasting? Because you have more experience than I do. It's like, I don't recognize that hand secret sign language of broadcasters. Yes. What is that? Yeah, the number 7. And, just now we're getting the intro on it. And it doesn't seem to bother either one of us, although we do be like, you know what? We need an intro. And like having music, it's like, okay, I know we'll do it, but it's not super pressing, and we don't have this strange arbitrary thing what will people think? I mean, I'm aware of it. I'm totally aware of it. It's just that I don't give a shit. Now, I don't know if that's because of my age. I mean, as we've already spoken about, part of its personality type, part of its, childhood input from my mother. But it's like the stuff that matters. I know what matters, and I know how to stay on track and stay in line. But this particular project is really interesting and so much fun to do this with you, because you're very much like me in this, in the comfort zone. Unless you're not telling me something, you're like, oh my God, Sharon is so annoying.
No, I just thought that this being on a tight deadline. I mean, when you start a project like we did, in a really loose but still productive structure. I mean, getting out, we are really. That is one of the most structured projects I did in a while, because we have our schedule, like recording every week. Sometimes we have to switch the day, if Monday or Tuesday, but it's still working. But not being on a tight deadline is, for some people, they really need this deadline.
Right.
We just started and saw how it went. Now we are coming near somewhat of a deadline, when we say, okay, we publish all of our episodes. Like we keep one as a buffer, but we publish all other episodes. They are out there, and now we have at least after 2 weeks we have to produce a new one. So then we are nearing the deadline, but we have worked on this since 8 weeks now. So now we understand much better how we work. If you would have started with, okay, we don't know what we are doing, and we don't know how we work together. But next week we have to get the website ready. We have to get the podcast published. We have to have a marketing strategy and whatnot. Then it would be really, really stressful. But we just started with like a lighthouse miles away inside, and we just went into the right direction, without those. I always say those stupid SMART goals, because when you are starting everything with this SMART acronym goals in mind, then you are putting yourself in such a tight corset often, especially when you don't really need it.
Right.
When everything has to be a SMART goal, just because you didn't try out another way of working, then you don't know if a much looser structure could be much more productive for you. It's this if you just have a hammer, then every problem looks like a nail. So if you only know how to work with SMART goals, then you try to make everything a SMART goal, and it can be totally standing in your way.
Yeah. And this is what I have been noticing, is that our working styles are very similar. And maybe we'll run into something later that we're like, oh shit. But right now it's just very comfortable, and it's you're kind of like me, where you're comfortable with the emergent project and just moving forward, because I just want to start. I just want to start and then kind of figure it out as we go. Now, of course, some projects you can't do that with, but something like this, there's no investment, there's no barrier. And so we don't need an itinerary. We don't need a driving thing to it. We made some decisions about how often and, kind of what it's about, but it's appropriate, let's say. And so you weren't trying to force this, or neither one of us are trying to force this into a shape that we don't even know what it is yet. And so why put a shape on it? You know, we have the subject, but that's enough to go forward. And I really like that.
You could
so
say
in terms, I was going to say, in terms of finding a good fit partner for projects, you know, for neurodivergence, or for anybody for that matter, is find people who complement us, who can also kind of gently nudge us, you know, into areas, maybe slightly, you know, discomfort, some slight discomfort, but not extreme. You know, hopefully there's no punishment and blame attached to it, because I'll remove myself from situations where people are doing that. But there's, it's a talking, I think, ahead of time, or just noticing something can be a good partnership, and then testing. You know, there needs to be some testing going on, or what's called a low-hanging fruit project.
Yeah.
You know, something where it's not, you know, so
there's
critical.
nothing on the line. There's no risk on the line.
Not really. Yeah, the very, very low risk. But putting together teams. But this is, you know, doing this and helping people figure that out is what I really like to do professionally. And there's a huge number of questions and I would say exercises, activities that you can run people through to work that out, or bring to the surface things that will become an issue later.
Do you think, I mean, that what you were describing is what I would say is a typical startup mindset? Like, we wanted this podcast, we wanted to have these discussions. So, we just made it as a kind of product. The final products are the podcast episodes. Like entrepreneurs that are more on the coding side, for example, they build a product in code. Like I don't want to compare us to Google or Airbnb or YouTube, but it's the same. It's the same mechanic behind that. Larry and Sergey wanted to make sense of the whole internet, and started coding an algorithm. The guys behind Airbnb wanted to rent out their air mattresses, so they built a platform for that. The guys behind YouTube, they wanted to share the videos, and there was no platform, so they did it. And we wanted to dive in deeper into the whole topic of neurodiversity and all the other topics that are in life and business that are attached to it. So we just started, and we will see where it's going to lead us. And when there is, I would be much more comfortable when we find an opportunity in 6 months how to build a business on top of that, because we now know how we are rolling and how we can work together, going the other way and say, okay, let's build a business without knowing how the other person is working and it's functioning, especially in a business sense, but also in a personal sense, would be much harder, I guess. And there would be much more friction, and there were much more brick walls that you can hit in the progress. And starting with a project where there's a lot of fun, there's a lot of leeway, and there's a lot of areas you can go into, without money or material or any goods on the line that you can lose.
Right.
And the only thing we could lose is time. But since we have great conversations and we both like the conversations, this time is for us personally in like when we just would be on the telephone and won't record it, it would be still a good investment of time. So it's a win-win-win-win-win.
Exactly. And it's like, but to me, these are the only kind of collaborations I'm interested in.
Mm.
I'm not interested in collaborating and working for people who I wouldn't hang out with. There's, I forget where I saw it. Somebody, I read it somewhere. They were saying that they use the airport method, being stranded in an airport method, to choose who they're going to hire if it comes down to two people. And they were saying you could have two people that have the exact same skills, and they've interviewed for the same position. They're both good. But then you ask yourself the question, which one would you rather be stranded in an airport with for 6 or 7 hours?
Yes.
And instantly, you know which one you would pick.
Yeah.
So that is the person you need to hire. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's brilliant. And so it works really well with how I think about the time that who I spend time with. And no, it's an excellent filter. And if people say, well, why did you hire them? We have the same skills. And I'm saying, I could tell you exactly why. And I would say it, but then again, we should all be transparent like that, because everybody's generally so afraid of hurting each other's feelings. I said, I'm sorry, I'd rather be stranded in an airport with that person rather than you. I mean, you could say it a little bit gentler than that, but same sentiment, and say that's what it came down to.
And I mean, for both persons, but especially for the person that is not chosen, I think it's quite worthy to know why somebody is been hired or is chosen instead of you, because I mean, there are two things. It's something you can't work on because you can't or you won't change in that area. So it's okay. You just could say, okay, the other person fits better in there because I can't do anything about it. Or it is something you can do something about it. Then you can work on that if you choose to. But then you know it, that there's a point where you can work on yourself, maybe for the next time or.
Right. And again, it's, as you were talking, I was trying to know what you're saying, but my brain was like off and running, because I thought, gosh, okay, when people are, they have to hire an HR department to hire people, and you see, how many people for some of these big corporations, you just, there's hundreds and thousands. So how do you hire the PR people who would understand that? And you're trusting them of who they would hang out with to bring these types of quality people into your company. And, how do you train for that? It just popped into my head. I'm like, ooh, that's a hard one.
Oh, one client of mine, they really, I can't pin it down when they started to switch their hiring processes, but it's like 4 or 5 years ago, I would say. They really, and they live it, and they really mean it. It's not just that they are saying it because they think it's hip or they find more people like this. They really say, okay, we are going to hire you because you as a human being are a good fit or a good addition to the team and the company. And if when they have to choose between a person that would really fit into the company with a bit lesser skills, and another one who has the perfect skills but wouldn't fit into the corporate culture, they would always choose the person that would fit the culture better. Because they say, we can teach you any skill you need to work here in like 3 to 6 months. But we can't teach you to fit in here. I always bring it down to, if you're an asshole, you still be an asshole, because we can't teach you to not be an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that has been working really, really well for them. But on the other side, they are really looking for diverse people, for people with
Hmm.
different skill sets, with personal interests that are, yeah, really, really interesting. On the other hand, you of course have companies who say, "Oh, we just want salespeople," for example. We don't care if they fit into the company
Mm.
culture, because we don't even know what our company culture is. We just want to sell whatever we are selling.
Hmm. 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 Yeah,
So
and
for
generally speaking, I just don't align well with companies that's what their choices are.
yeah,
I respect them. I respect, because anybody can do what they're going to do. I say
yeah,
there's no judgment on that. But those are the companies that I say, nah, I don't, see us as being good partners.
yeah,
Um, because again, it's like, would I want to hang out with people and generally from conversations I've had, it's the people who are making decisions like that aren't the people that I'm going to enjoy having deep conversations with, because they're focused on quantity, not quality.
hmm
And so the conversations are quite different.
hmm
Uh, and so it's like, what do I want to fill my time with? Um, but in terms of, finding a good partner, I think testing is very important. And it's like what we're doing, where this is kind of a test flight. And we talked about it and said, no, we'll do this until it's not fun anymore. And we'll know. We'll know. And I like that, instead of having to make a hard commitment. I mean, it's always important to say, okay, let's give it at this amount of time and let's try something. So it's not like putting the effort into it and just
mm
going, nah, I don't like it. But I also want somebody to say that, because
mm.
I never want to force somebody to stay in something that's fun for me, but not fun for them. But there's kind of the communication has to be on a high level, for me. That's for sure.
That is
What about
something.
for you? What are some things that you've noticed that make a good fit,
Oh, the
partner collaboration?
the fun level is really high on the list. Really, really high on the list.
Mm-hmm.
The coming out of a conversation, or out of a working session, and when I think I learned a lot from other persons,
Mm-hmm.
that is really high
Mm-hmm.
on the list as well, together with the fun. I try to get myself to 10, I would say around 10 years ago. I try to work on myself, not to be that dependent on if I like somebody, because I can have fun with people I don't like and that I don't like personally.
That's hard for me.
Um, and I can learn from them. So I tried to not make it a preposition. I mean it's still relatively high on the list, but I think most people would say, yeah, that there has to be a connection, or the
Mm-hmm.
person has to be
Mm-hmm.
sympathetic, or I have to like the
So
people.
now I have 1,000 questions. Okay, would you hang out with somebody that you don't like? For example, why would you hang out? Not for example, but like it's a question. Why would you hang out with somebody
I
you
can
don't
tell
like?
I can tell you
Mm-hmm.
where I would see a difference. There are really old school friends, for example,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which with whom I spent time in kindergarten with,
Mm-hmm.
that I really, really like,
Mm-hmm.
because we have so much history together, and we lived through so many
Mm-hmm.
moments in our lives that were really important. Um, but they are interested in totally different things now, or they are not as fun anymore as they were when we were 16. So I would rather choose other people that I don't like. Not liking is really, it sounds really harsh.
Well, it sounds like you mean that you're not compatible anymore, but do you like them as human beings, even though you're not compatible?
Yes, yes. I was just thinking about an example. I worked together at a client with a guy that I didn't like that much at first, because he was, despite of being, I guess, 10, 12 years younger than me, he was so conservative and
Mm-hmm.
so um, looking down on people sometimes. And I really didn't like him, but it was still fun to work with him. And I was learning things from him when I looked really, really hard for them that were valuable. So I chose to, okay, I will have a good working, I want to have a good working relationship here, although I don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make it clear?
Yeah, yeah.
my
It's
my my,
also
my
the
feelings, I
Mhm.
was feeling a disliking. I was feeling like it was a rational decision, and I would have lost some valuable lessons, or I would have lost some valuable work experience if I would have just listened to my emotion of not liking him. So I chose, it doesn't it's not important if you like him or not, just do the work with him and see what comes out of it. And that was the
Mhm.
much better choice than, let's say, yeah, just saying no. I don't like this guy. I don't want to work with him.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, in some working situations, I mean, we're not going to like everybody for
Yeah.
sure. Um, is it where would you say with that guy on a scale of 1 to 10? What is the respect? Where's that? What number would that be?
The respect was quite high.
Yeah, because that is what
I would,
I
between a
think.
6 and an 8, I would say,
Yeah, yeah, because I
depending on the
can.
situation.
Yeah, I can. I if I don't when I say because I'm and now of course I don't want to go like, okay, what do you mean you don't like them? Define like. And but it's the because I think trust and respect has to be in alignment for me. And there are other things that might annoy me or irritate me or something like that. But if the trust and the respect is very high, I can work with
Ah,
somebody.
sometimes you can see a challenge there. For me,
Mhm.
I remember a time when I challenged myself to work with one of the owners of a company who really, really was an asshole, and he treated people like an asshole treats people, and really narcissistic, and I chose to work with him not only, of course, on the one hand side, I chose, and I said, okay, you have to work with him because he is your client and he pays your bills, so you have to get your shit together and work
Mhm.
with him.
Mhm.
On the one hand side, but on the other, I also told me, okay, there's a chance to learn here, instead of just
Mhm.
despising him and just saying uh, he's an idiot, and um, I quit the whole job, for example. I thought, okay, I could learn how to deal with this kind of people. So it was a little bit from a my person, I was observing myself from a meta level, how I was reacting in interacting with the guy, so that I can learn something about me. And does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I get you. How long were you in that working situation?
I kind of still am, but the guy was kicked out of his own company by the other C levels at one point some years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Because it sounds like that's how you get into that situation, which we all do. We all end up in situations with unsavory animals. But so the thing of a good fit partnership in terms of what we're seeking, I'm guessing you wouldn't seek anybody out like that, or would you? Would you be a partner with somebody like that?
Yeah. Yes and no. That depends. The easy way would be, okay, I avoid those situations. Does the name Gordon Ramsay ring any bell? Yeah. When I was in my 30s, I was that was around the time when Gordon Ramsay got into the media and into TV. And I started watching some of those shows of Hell's Kitchen and so. And that was like my really early midlife crisis, where I was thinking of, okay, do I do this online marketing internet stuff furthermore, or do I quit, do a career change, and start working as a cook? And this person of a yelling, cursing, screaming in your face chef guy was back then was my idea of, okay, I want to have a boss like this in a kitchen, because then I would have immediate feedback if I'm doing my job right or not, because that was something I was lacking of my whole life. Somebody who was really harsh, really hard on me, who would give me directly any feedback how I could get better. And I was thinking about searching for that. I was even searching for some Lehrstellen in Germany, where you are a trainee, some trainee jobs as a chef in some of the higher level restaurants around here. But then I got the job at the Synaxon company, the computer setting company. And so I said, okay, this is my last try in web marketing, internet marketing, and when that doesn't work, then I can still next year chase this cooking career. And the fun thing is, on one of my projects, I got to know to one of Germany's best known wine sommeliers, who was working for a wine company, and his female colleague there, when I talked about this, she really laughed at me, and she really laughed and said, "Oh, really? I can arrange that." And I said, "Hey, what do you mean?" I said, "I was for 4 years the sommeliers at Gordon's restaurant in London. So when you want to work there for a week, I can arrange that."
Oh, wow.
So that was like 6 or 7 years later, and then I didn't try that. But yes, I would.
So that tells me, okay, now I have to joke around here now. So that tells me that you're a masochistic student. You have to be, you're choosing to put yourself in a situation with a sadistic, trainer or teacher. Is this what you're telling us?
Back then I thought I would be. Since I am learning martial arts, for example, I didn't choose the school right away because of the teachers there, but later it turn out that I chose a school that have quite different teachers that are
Mhm.
really empathetic, that are really calm, nothing you would expect in a martial arts
Mhm.
school, for example.
Mhm. Mhm.
No one normally is yelling around there, or is like you don't have to call anyone master or sensei or something like
Mhm.
that. But when they are teaching techniques, for example, I am always the one who says, okay, can you demonstrate this on me so that I really feel the pain, because I learn through pain. I learn some techniques through, okay, when does it start to hurt, and how does,
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
example, how has the hand to turn,
Right. Right.
where others
Right.
just learn by observing. I'm always
Mhm.
the guy who says, okay, try it on me.
Okay. I wonder if this has something to do with the aphantasia, the
Maybe.
learning style through the, because I could completely imagine all of when I was taking the martial arts, I could learn by observing
Hmm.
and then duplicate the movements
Hmm.
exactly, and to the point where they would say, no, 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 you've done this before. And I'm like, no, I've never done this before. And it's like, do you, come on, you don't have to lie to us, and
Hmm.
type of a thing. And I'm like, no, no, I've never done this before.
Hmm.
But my bot being able to see it and then duplicate it and put my body in the same physical space
Hmm.
in with the same gestures. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Because I'm also wondering about, the our particular our separate, I want to say cocktail mixes of neurodivergence, and how easy or difficult that is in terms of finding good
Yes.
partnerships. Because what I and again, communication is really, really important to me. And
Absolutely.
I'm very, very, very clear. If I get into something, it's like, okay, you need to know this about working with me,
Yeah.
and just to be sure that we're on the same page, that they're not, um, projecting things onto me, or that they're misinterpreting things and then becoming frustrated or angry.
Hmm.
And so I'm very upfront about, because for me, it seems like, I'm very communicative. I give more information than probably necessary, knowing how I am, but I always want to be very, very clear. But when I am thinking at my normal speed, for me, I feel like I'm very clear. And for somebody listening to me, for them, it's like pieces are missing
Mm.
because of the speed.
Mm.
But anybody with ADHD, especially for women, because the H on the ADHD is more internal instead
Hmm.
of physically external. It's not always that way, but it's oftentimes. And so it's it's very fast on the inside. And so there can be things where we're jumping whole sentences and we don't even realize it.
Hmm.
So I do a lot of checking in. I do ask for a lot of clarification, but it depends on, like, for me, the best fit situation is if somebody has a natural level, a baseline, high level baseline of patience.
Mm.
Not that I'm inflicting myself on somebody, but that if somebody has, for example, a high level baseline level of impatience, the person, I find, doesn't want to or can't take the time out to listen or question the people
But
around them.
but
Yeah.
wouldn't that depend on where the impatience come from? Why? Because for
I
me,
don't. Yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to explain, because for me,
Mm-hmm.
when I realize I become impatient,
Mm-hmm.
that's that has often to do with that I can't follow. No, I realize that people can't follow my lines of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
the fast thinking, and then I often realize that my impatience set in, or I realize that I'm thinking ahead of the other people, and I
Mm-hmm.
already know where they're going, and
Mm-hmm.
I already know the next three sentences they was, and then the impatience for me sets in. So with like you described it, and like you are talking, that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
happen that much. So I don't get
Right.
impatient because
Right.
it's always like challenging, interesting to follow your thoughts. So that's the reason why I said maybe it depends on where the impatience comes from.
Or it depends on who's in front of us.
Yeah.
Um, because I can tell you, and again, things get multiplied in our impatience, and everybody's like this, whether they're, if they're tired or their nutrition isn't, if they're hungry or something, they're going to be impatient. It's
Mm,
just the nature of human beings. So, but when I speak about a baseline of patience,
mm,
you appear to me to be fairly patient. But again, it's how we speak together and how we talk and jump from here to there and then swing back around and pick up the threads because we can. And you don't force me to talk linearly, and I don't force you to do it either. So therefore, we can speak at our own pace in our own style, and yeah, it's more comfortable. I do the same thing where I'll anticipate what somebody's going to say, but I'm always watching for that, because that's a dangerous thing for people like us to do, is
yeah.
to assume that we know what they're going to say.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to say. And of course, if I'm excited about something, we're talking about something, it's really, and the energy level is really high, my propensity to interrupt somebody rises. If I'm excited about something, I was one podcast that we did, I forget which one, the second one maybe, and I kept interrupting you. When I re-listened to it, I was like, oh God. And but it didn't seem to bother you, and we kind of naturally make way for each other, but we also recognize the excitement. It's happening because of excitement, not that I'm trying to over talk you or down talk you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a big interrupter myself,
Yeah.
especially not on podcasts. That's really funny because
Yeah.
I have done like 70 or 80 episodes of a German podcast with a friend of mine
Mm-hmm.
when the pandemic started, just as a fun project for us to do. And because we couldn't see each other in the lockdowns and hadn't the opportunity to meet, so we did this podcast. And when we are talking casually,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interruptive, and I'm really often I'm interrupting him really really often.
Mm-hmm.
And he always made a joke about it in the podcast, like, "Ah, you are interrupting me anyway, and you are interrupting me so often, and blah blah blah." And I was the one who was editing the podcast, so I was always realizing how many times he was interrupting me and me not
Yeah.
interrupting him. So that was really funny for me because I edited most of that. I edited out so that he doesn't look that bad. But yeah, realizing this self image
Mm-hmm.
and the objective image from outside
Mm-hmm.
was quite funny for me because I know
Mm-hmm.
I can be really interruptive, and I always, especially when I did a lot of social media coachings in 2009 to 2013, 14, I always taught the people and the companies, which are people as well. I always tried to make sure that they realize if you're using social media, you have to behave like there's constantly a running camera on you, and everything
Mm-hmm.
you say or do could be on the title pages of any tabloid in your industry or
Right.
at the newspaper stands tomorrow. So really watch out for that and keep that in mind, that you are constantly live
You're in the
streaming.
public eye. Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to be
you're
very careful.
constantly in the public eye, and just keep that in mind and behave like that. I think now in 2022, most people who are dealing with social media understood this, but yeah, back then, a lot of people thought, okay, I still can do what I want, or I can behave like I want and to. So I'm quite good at self-editing. I think that's one of my skills I built in the past years, that I can look at myself and see, okay, what are things that concern you or that I don't like about myself, or that others might don't like about me, so that I want to change that. Some things I like more about me that others do, and I say I don't care. And there are
Yeah.
other things where I say, it might be useful if you work on that for yourself. And having a lot of material, like podcasts or videos that you do, and you can watch yourself, that really helps, to self-edit.
Oh, of course. And it's like the self-awareness, what tools are we using? But I think anybody who's doing film or podcasting or radio, there's a mirror that the majority of people don't spend time in front of.
Yep.
Real mirrors, yes, but other mirrors where you have to look at yourself and kind of critique, and make decisions. What do you like? What do you not like about it? And again, there's a dangerous part in there of, if we are evolving, who are we evolving for? And to make sure that it's coming from an intrinsically motivated position, not from a position of, what will others think? You have to be very, very careful of that.
Yes.
I think about that a lot.
What you say, what do other people think is, on both sides a big motivator for people, and on the other side it's a big barrier for people.
Well, hello, social media and the neurosis and the anxiety that everybody's dealing with. This is the greatest human experiment ever, about how humans deal with so much exposure. And before, it was like you only had to worry about the judgment of either your family or your little village or your county. And now it's global. Teenagers are having to deal with this on a global level. What will people think of me? And you can't get away and make mistakes, kind of, in seclusion and be able to grow and evolve as a teenager. Because that's what making mistakes is your job. Yes. As a kid and as a teenager, but to have to do that on a public stage, even if you don't, even if you don't choose to publish yourself, all your friends have everything, so anything at any given moment that you do can be turned into a means of harassment. Yeah, and it's quite different. So that's why it's really important in this era to build the muscles and the skills of the intrinsic value of self. So it's so that, and again, I don't know if I described this before. I think of it in terms of like a Jenga tower, the tower of little blocks where you pull out the blocks, and so if we build our inner Jenga towers of value very high and narrow, if you pull out some pieces near the bottom, your whole sense of identity is compromised and very, very risky and very unstable. Whereas if we spread it out and make a low, broader base of self, that you could take a hit in any one area, but it's the whole thing is going to come crashing down. And yes, it's the thing I like speaking about and researching and experimenting with is like the diversification of identity and self. And how do we actively do that? How do we actively make choices about that? It's an interesting area of discussion, experimentation. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
What just went through my mind when you said the job of teenagers or kids is to make errors and try out themselves. It's the job of the parents, or I would say the job of the adults, not only the parents, but like teachers, kindergartners, bosses at work, whatever. It's their work not to take any faults personally, not to take them. They shouldn't take them lightly, but they should be able to deal with them constructively. Instead of just
should be.
Should
That's
be.
I mean, like what you just said is enormous of what it's like why I basically just work with other trainers and coaches, because I could be most useful being an instigator or be a support system for other, teachers and trainers and coaches, more so than I can working for individuals. And for example, I could, yes, I can and do coach the, kind of the founders and the startups, but they're going to have an effect on other people and people who they hire. So I do like that aspect of it. But the other, so those are the two areas that I like working with. But there's working one-on-one with people, just in the systems, and managers and certain types of leaders. I don't see as I can really cause any lasting change. So it's for me that my focus is on other people who can then coach and train other people. So it's systemic again, because it's huge. It's like, how it is now, where we are now and where, we can or should be. This is very idealistic. And so like, how do we get there? And what can we do from where we are to facilitate even a tiny bit of change? This is always the kind of the question.
Yeah, the question is would you rather do make a lot of tiny changes in a lot of people, or rather make a big change in one or two people? And then it depends on how good the two people with the big changes could use these changes or could spread them further. And if you are doing smaller changes in a lot of people, the chance that changes something in the whole scale is much higher than when you just try to do changes with really small number of people.
It's an interesting, what do you call, conundrum, because it's because the one area that I really like working with is the emergent collaboration, and amazing stuff comes out of that, and people change themselves and change each other in that kind of a dynamic. Whereas if you get people off one-on-one, it's, how much are we affecting it? But if people are together kind of in a group situation, small groups, because the group dynamics change after like 10 or 12 people. So that's my favorite place to play and to help and support. It's putting, if the people are single, then they come into that group, or if the group comes, then they're people of a group of that number. Does that make any sense? And so there's the chance of them going out is kind of this not evolved, but kind of evolved group, and they go back into their system. The change, depends on what level they are at and what the culture is. Because if you don't have the founder or the CEO that has buy-in, you're not going to affect change. You're not going to. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a a broken leg. You're treating the symptoms, not the cause.
I think it depends on. When you have, if you have a company with thousands of people, it's maybe easier to change one person, to change the CEO. And then he or she just says, okay, now, right now, from this point on, we are doing things differently. So they just can decide that. On the other hand, it takes much longer, but it would still work if you, let's say the company has 10,000 employees and you can change the mind of 1,000 of them, then this grassrooty change could work its way up until the CEO or the whole leadership of the company has to embrace the change, because otherwise they are losing a lot of people. So it can work from both sides.
Some CEOs will let their company die before they change. So it depends on the situation. It's kind of been proven that the trickle up method, unless you have buy-in from the top, the chance of that working is slim to none. So if the companies say, yes, we want to think of agile, okay, in the German, Scrum and agile. Here's a good example coming out of the consulting in the automotive industry sector. People say, we want Scrum, we want agile, but it's only in word. They don't really want it. They don't know what it is. And you can work with the people down on the lower levels. They're kind of doing it, but everybody's like, yeah, why should we do this? Nobody up top is really listening, or they don't value it. And it just goes nowhere. And the toxicity just keeps swirling. It doesn't change.
I think the example of Agile and Scrum in especially automotive industry is a great example, because you have to deal with not only at the C-level, but you have to deal with a lot of engineers, technical people. They are used to really small, iterative optimizations, like fuel usage or the CW value, the air. How's it called in English? How well the car gets through the air, through the wind.
The aerodynamics.
And so on. So it's really small steps of optimization every year. Designing and building a car is a process that takes from the idea we have to do a new model until the car hits the road and it's in the dealerships. It's like 5 to 10 years sometimes.
Yes.
And you're talking about a lot of money and a lot of steel and a lot of electronics and a lot of material. And the agile working method comes from the software world, where, as we talked in the beginning, the only thing you have to put in there is time. Because building software doesn't take any materials, any raw materials. You don't have to have steel. You don't have to have large factory halls with machines in there. So the risk. On one panel I heard an even better example. It was a panel about work of the new work of the future, about agile and digital working methods. And right in the end, in the Q&A section of the panel, some guy in the audience stood up and said, I'm a farmer, a biofarmer here in the region, and in our work processes, how the company is running, we implemented a lot of agile processes and project management and so on. But as a farmer who has to get in the yield and has to work on his fields, I have no idea how I could apply any agile or any modern working method, because in my lifetime I have around 30 chances to alter something, to change something. 30, because that are the 30 years that I can work on the field and where I can make a change, and then I can see 1, 2, 3 years later if this change made any difference or made any positive difference. So it's I can understand that for some professional groups, embracing agile is really, really hard, because they have to make decisions. Agile could really, really work for them, but they are scared because changing the whole system just could destroy the whole factory, the whole company, the whole farm.
Well, yeah, it's fear-based decisions, and yeah. But that's it's why it's you can't force a company to change, and it's whoever wants to bring it in. There's going to be resistance to that, which is why the buy-in has to be consistent.
Yeah.
But that's in any, it's like anybody that I work with, is that there has to be a consistency with the buy-in. Because I'm not interested in working with people where there's, for example, there's a lot of workers that are being told to participate into something. And I don't ever really want to do a workshop full of people who don't want to be there. That's not my thing. And I have other friends that work that, and they're like, yes, but I like turning them. I like bringing them in and changing their minds. And I'm like, great. I'm so happy that people like you exist. But that's not, because all of us have the places where what we think is fun. But I think it has to do with being, part of it is the neurodivergence, where it's just like, it's tiring for me to, and it could be my age as well, that I'm just like, I'm just not interested in it. And it's like, it goes back to the airport hanging out thing. I just want to, hang out with people that I like. Yep. And so the groups that I tend to work with, they're more curated, so that the other things that are generally an issue, because in a smaller group you can have a few people, but it's not the majority of the group that you're dealing with that is resistant. There's always going to be somebody in the groups.
Yeah, but you are empowering the curated group of people who are already into the topic, or who are already on your side and are already willing to listen to you. You don't have to convince them. They are already there because they see that they can get something valuable out of the workshop.
I'll tell you what it is. There's I want to say a filter requirement for me, and that's anybody's invited, but the criteria is that the people be open, curious, and interested, because they can come from all different areas, and it doesn't matter what anybody's doing. But if they are open, curious, and interested, even if though they have no idea what the things are about.
Yes.
Or, they come in with a curious experimental mindset, and they're ready. They're ready for discussion. And so they're, so that's kind of the criteria that I look for. Other than that, it's wide open.
And then those people are able, with what they experience in working with you, they are then able to spread the knowledge or the experience
Exactly.
under those who would be really skeptical, because those skeptical people, they need somebody they already know. They need somebody who is in the same boat as them. Those are the skeptical people, or the more engineering type people, maybe. Then they believe them and they accept it. When they would heard something from you or from me, they would be like, ugh, those whatever coaches, neurodiversity, marketing, I don't know what coaches, agile coaches. It's just something new. The bosses want us to hear, and yes, I would sit here for an hour or for the day, but then I would get back right to work, and it goes inside the one ear and goes outside the other one. But when they hear it from coworkers, we get really excited, and they make the connection for us. They make the connection between what we have to say and how they can apply it to the benefit of all of them in the country, in the company. It's a job we can't do because we don't have the experience of working in that company, in the teams.
Exactly. And it's like, it's kind of like they say, the water takes the path of least resistance. So it's like the people that I prefer to interact with are the people who are open, curious, and interested. Then they can, this is the ripple effect. So, just by the fact that somebody's forced to be in a workshop of mine, there's a resistance there that it is unnecessary. It's completely unnecessary. And it's like, if you trade places with that person, with somebody who's open, curious, and interested, then that person will multiply the ripple effect of whatever that's emergent. Because it's like, I don't teach the people something. It's like you take that particular group and they teach each other. It's just there to have to create the space where they kind of teach each other, and it just emerges. I know it sounds very vague, and I'm not here to talk about like how I do what I do, but it's like the fact that making sure that we make space and take into account the real, I want to say the real diversity that the world that's actually in existence, and to get outside this one size fits all, and to teach each other, or help facilitate the teaching of each other, so that all of us can rise together. That's, I think, what is now I'm starting to sound like an evangelist of, but I believe it, and I know it, and I've seen it work, and it's exciting.
That is something that this emerging. I always thought it sounds really spiritual or esoteric, or like really vague, as you called it. But it's true. I mean, that I can say from my own experience in holding workshops. It's something that that you just trust in, that it's going to happen, and it is. In workshop groups, after several minutes, it's just the combining of what you bring into the workshop as a coach, and find the connections between the problems and the skills and the products and whatever the company and the people that do. Then I never had a workshop where this emerging process didn't happen. It always, sometimes it happens after 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes like 2 hours and some exercises or some work sessions, but it always, the pieces always fall together.
Yeah. If you create the space and you leave humans, you set the boundaries, you create you leave humans to themselves in the groups of about that size, it always does happen.
Yep.
It's the thing of helping build the trust enough to, you could either do that a little bit or it just depends. Sometimes it takes just a tiny nudge. Some groups you don't have to do anything. They're already there. And that's but helping people teach each other is the way of the future, and helping groups and at work and otherwise. But the self-education factor is this is the future. We should probably do a downhill parking on this because both of us have to get out the door.
I think our alarms went off quite simultaneously, but that's exactly the how can we help groups to teach each other, and what are test projects for neurodiverse people and exercises.
Right.
That would be something I would like to park downhill for next week. Absolutely.
Let's do that, because the education and the self-education and the supporting the education of each other and others is a great conversation to have. Yeah. With the neurodiversity and diversity in general. But cool. But that's another cool conversation. And today it's strange because I think your and I's comfortable limit is 2 hours. Keeping it to an hour is hard.
Yes.
We sort of have a natural, I know mine too. It's like the natural circling around and coming to a landing spot is about 2 hours for us. Yeah. So I feel like we're like somebody's pulling the tablecloth out from underneath us.
Yes.
But we're doing it to ourselves today. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then.
Great.
So we thank everybody for joining us, and we'll see you all next week.